Welcome back. It's the Daybreak, and now we're on the interview segment. Today we're going to be discussing the state of the nation, looking at the current happenings and also way forward. We have in the studio to discuss this a young public affairs analyst, Olanade, Emmanuel. You're welcome.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
So let's look at it. First of all, let us look at Nigeria as a nation, you know, from when Nigeria became Nigeria and up to date. And then looking at our many challenges, our many problems, our many issues, and to the current happenings now and what the government should be doing.
Well, if you want us to look at Nigeria from where we became Nigeria, I would tell you that would be a bigger problem to look at. But let's just take it in the context of the way Nigeria is right now, where we are as a nation currently. And I can tell you that we are currently in ICU.
Because we need the energy now.
Yeah, we are currently
oxygen.
in a critical state. And if we fail to get it right, I'm afraid we might not have a nation to call Nigeria if care is not taken. Because all the elements now seems not to be in favor of us as a nation. But basically, as Nigeria be Nigerian to its citizen, the question is no. And Nigeria has not been a mother to the citizen because, for example, for you to be called a Nigerian, you must enjoy some privilege of being in Nigeria. But are we enjoying those privileges as citizens? The answer is capital letter no. So the state of the nation for us right now is a critical one, and all stakeholders must come together to salvage things, to get hold of things, to put things in proper perspective, to get the system working. Because what we have now is a systematic failure, and when a systematic failure, you don't expect the engine or anything to work well. So for Nigeria right now, we are currently in a system that is not working for us. But with because of our ruggedness and dire nature, we've been pushing that system to work. But we ought to know that that system was created for a particular group of people to favor them. It ought to be a democracy. But I call it a crazy demolition of craziness. Dagoin said it in his track, Crazy Demo. So basically what we are saying now is not democracy, because it ought to be a government for the people, by and to. But now it's a government for a group of people, by a group of people, to a group of people. So for you to feel Nigerian, I mean enjoy the benefits of being a Nigerian, you must belong to that group of people, whether by, for, or to. And that class is a very small class, which is very hard to get in. And that class is the class of people we call our leaders right now. So it's very hard to get in. And once you are in, you have to be part of the system, because if you are not part of the system will kick you out. So most Nigerians, that's why you see that 133 million Nigeria are in multi-dimensional poverty. All of us are poor. So, because there's a way you describe being rich. So, 103 Nigerians in multi-dimensional poverty. Multi-dimension, that means poverty of different class and group. So, you might be poor in this way, I might be poor in this way, but we all are in multi-dimensional poverty, 103 million. And with the removal of the first subsidy, a lot of Nigerians will still go into that class. Before in Nigeria, we have the rich, the average, and the high, middle, and low class, however they classify it. But now what we have now is the rich and poor. When people tell me they are middle class, I just look at them, they're just looking for packaging to tell us that you're not poor.
Okay, we have the rich and the packaged, and then the poor
the
people.
Package is just
the unpackaged people.
The packaged people are just those who are trying to feel like they are not poor. Maybe they still wear iron kaftan and they feel like they are not yet poor. So basically, we are in a system that is not favorable to us, and there must be a change of system for us to move forward. Because if we keep going this way, I'm very sorry, at the end of the day, Nigerians will not be Nigerians again, because the only thing that the state called Nigeria is giving to its citizen is a subsidy. It's not that Nigeria wants to even give to the citizen the subsidy, But because they failed to allow institutions to work, refineries stopped working. So now they have to find a way to please the citizen a little. That's why you get the subsidy. But now the subsidy became a scam because the crazy demonstration of craziness by a group of people to a group of people after a group of people took hold of what Nigeria ought to be feeding the citizen and made it their own again. So now we had to take out that subsidy, but we've implemented the removal of subsidy in a wrong way. And now that's the current state of the nation because that's affected a whole lot of things. That's affected education. You saw the report that students outside the country are struggling to pay school fees because of the dollar to naira exchange rate right now. So it has affected the whole lot of sector. The health sector is not there. It's not taken out. You talk about the aviation sector. Check Turkish airline, for example, a flight from Lagos to London should be 1,000 plus in dollars, and then you see a flight from our neighboring country, the Benin Republic, to London going for about $400. So you wonder, who have we offended in Nigeria? Education sector is not working. ASU just finished a couple of months ago, finished their own 9 months ASU strike. I don't know whether they can wake up tomorrow morning and go into another strike. So basically what we have is a system that is not working for the people. The people keep feeding this system because they tax you, you pay from your own handed money, you create your own wealth, you create your own business. Apart from creating your own business, you create your own energy, you create your own security. Then sometimes you even have to create your own infrastructure because you see CDA group, community group working on their own road, so that their road can be accessible, their estate can be accessible, their community can be accessible. The government is not doing that. So you create a system for yourself, and then you still end up paying to the system that ought to create for you. So they still collect from you, and then you still keep paying more. So the system is not working. What we are having basically is a system for a group of people to and by a group of people that are meant to keep them in power, keep them richer, while majority of Nigeria keeps going down, keeps getting poor every day.
On the subsidy removal stuff and the hike in price, just like you said, the hike in pump price has really affected everything that has price on it. That's really been affected. Do you think bringing back the refineries we have, the different refineries we have in Nigeria, in the country now, bringing them back to life, do you think it's going to like at least solve part of the problem? And another thing again, you mentioned dollar rise and all that. All this, some people are even blaming this problem now to dollar rise, the rise in dollar and all that, and it is because Nigeria tends to import virtually everything we use in this country. Even the ones we can manufacture ourselves, we import them. Just like motors, vehicles, we have the innocent vehicles, which is, yes, we know they are doing well, and other companies are really doing well in manufacturing vehicles. But yet, majority of Nigeria still like it when they import it from outside, and these importations makes it puts pressure on naira and foreign exchange, thereby making dollar to rise, which is where most of our problems comes from. So do you think what is the actual how to tackle this? Do you think shutting down importation, as in for a while, like shutting it down or taxing it heavily, or what do you think? How do you think? Because yes, we need to encourage our own locally manufactured product, just at least for a start, to use that one to tackle the issue.
Well, if you can't shut down importation, you can't close your border. Muhammadu Buhari tried to close borders. We saw what happened to the economy. So you can't do that. But basically, one of the problem we have is that for you to be a local manufacturer, you go through a lot. Number one, government policy doesn't favor you. So we talk about policy and implementation. For you to manufacture, for you to do anything, you've seen people who had come up with innovative ideas complaining. Is that you dance to the tune of those who operate the system and be a part of the system for them to get something off you, or you fight the system? And I've never seen anybody that fought the system and won, because the system is the state. You don't fight the state and win. It's very hard, because the system that ought to give you justice is also part of the system. the arm of the system. Let me use that word. I want to give you just also part of the main system. So now, when you look at the issue of removal of subsidy, we've all been shouting, let subsidy go. Subsidy is a scam. I would advise anybody watching now to just read Okonjo-Iweala's book where she spoke extensively about petroleum subsidy. A lot of things has been said about subsidy, but the will to remove subsidy has been a problem. Goodluck Jonathan tried it. The people who removed subsidy now told Jonathan that there was no subsidy, it was just a scam. They took to the streets. They occupied Nigeria. And I asked, these same people, that's why karma is a very interesting thing if we are not careful. These same people are now there. They are now removing the subsidy that they said never existed in the first place. So now when you talk about subsidy has to go. But the problem is, how do you implement subsidy removal that it won't have adverse effect on the citizens of the country? What we have is we budget or we take decision before planning. We ought to plan before we take decision. For example, I want to go to the US. You have to plan. I move from my village to Abuja or to Lagos. I book a flight. From the flight, if this direct flight, if it's not direct flight, I connect and I will draw this thing. But what we do is we get to the US in our mind, then before planning. And this is what we see. You don't just take subsidy out without planning for the effect it's going to have on the citizens. Because one, prices of things is going to definitely go up. Transportation is going to be a problem for people. Small and medium scale enterprise are going to suffer a lot because most of them don't run on power. The power that ought to be available for them to run is not usually available. So most of them provide their own power. That's why I said most Nigerians, they create their own system to work for them personally. But that system still pays to the system that has kept them down. So now you see them trying to draw all these things. You spoke about innocent motors. You look at countries, they are quite synonymous with the car they manufacture. They are public officials. That's why you look at France, you can see what the French president takes around. Maybe little times they get to talk to all these bigger brands to help them create a vehicle, but you know that this vehicle is synonymous with this country. We have about 3 or 4 manufacturing manufacturing car industry in Nigeria. We have Nord, we have Innocent Motors and all, and they provide good cars, but you can't see our public officials using that because they can't siphon money, they can't embezzle funds buying from Innocent like that. So what you have is a kind of action plan that has been mapped out for them. You saw the palliative being given. Each household is to get 8,000 naira. 8,000 naira for each household. Per adventure, you have 6 people in your household. You have to share 8,000 naira. As a grown-up, how do you want to share 8,000 naira? Coming to work, you pay more than 2,000 naira for transport.
Exactly.
So now then you look at a group of people.
And that's depending on where you live.
Yeah, you look at the group of people who are less than 500 sharing 70 billion naira so that it can help them settle well. Have they even started working? They've not even started work because they've not even done anything tangible yet. So you look at another 35 billion naira going to the judiciary, and I ask the question, 12 million household getting 8,000 naira per month for how many months? For 6 months. Do the
That's
calculation
48.
yourself.
So ridiculous.
48,000
naira in 4 months.
So you look at even the palliative they said they are giving out. I don't call it palliative because there is nothing that will cushion the effects.
But then, what kind of palliative do you think the federal government should give? I know, yes, maybe they have shot themselves in the leg by coming out with the problem first, with stopping a particular thing, but then not starting with a palliative first, bringing the palliative first before the stopping a particular challenge. But then they brought in stopping the challenge and then brought in the palliative later. So they are bringing this palliative later. Now, I think the president is saying one thing or the other. So what sort of palliative do you think Nigerians need at the moment? Well,
the only palliative Nigeria needs is for things to work. When things work in a system, you enjoy good health care, you enjoy good infrastructural development, you enjoy good education, you enjoy good security. When things work, you'll be able to go to work, go to bed with your eyes closed. You go to work without fear. You move on the road without fear. So what Nigeria need right now is they actually need a system that works. They don't need you giving them 8,000 naira. The ones that left the other day said they created this social register and we're giving people 5,000 naira per month.
I just
and I saw the minister
like
for humanitarian affairs back then sharing the money to people. How do you trace this? Then you look at them, they said they were feeding school children even during COVID-19 pandemic where people were
billions.
So you look at all this policy they create, it's not for you to get palliative. See, the palliative they are creating, you can see that even governors are saying now that they want to do away with national, the social register that they have, that the Buhari used, that they want to create their social register, that the federal government should give them the money. And you know when you give governors the money, so quote law. So that's right. So basically, you look at even the palliative. The palliative is not meant for you and I. Those that will get the palliative already knows themselves. Some will get the palliative based on party affiliation. Some will get the palliative based on who they support. While others, people really in the palliative will not get the palliative. How do you want the woman who sells by the roadside to cope with the price, with the inflation of things right now, 22.something%? How do you want an ordinary Nigerian, 1.3 million people in poverty to cope with that? What we should be doing now is we should be looking at how we can put people away from poverty. But you look at the government policy every day keeps pushing people into poverty. And then you think that that kind of system can work with palliative being given out. You don't give people fish. You teach them how to fish. But most times Nigerians teach themselves how to fish. The government collects the hook and net from them. So these are the things we have. A lot of Nigeria, very enterprising group of people. Anywhere they go to, they succeed. But you come back to your own country, you create a business. Your business is thriving. Then one day government will wake up. They will tell you they're regulating that sector. They are putting this policy in place. And at the end of the day, you see that the policy that ought to encourage people to go into that kind of business is actually killing it. So most times it's not palliatives that Nigeria needs. Nigeria needs a system that works where they can have access to quality healthcare, quality education. Look at all these people that are in this demonstration of craziness. Look at their children. Their children are not part of the craziness that they've built for us. It's you and I that attend public schools. Their children are schooled outside the country. You see them going to the UK, going to the United States, going to Canada, telling their children is graduating. What happened to the public institution that they've built? Because they know they're not paying the lecturers well. They know that the lecturers that ought to teach you in our institution will be teaching you what is not even relevant. Some of them will be giving you Wikipedia because they are not well paid. So they take their own family out of this dimension of craziness, out of this crazy society they've created, and they don't even give them the palliative because they don't need the palliative. So they come to you and I. It's only a sick person that receives palliative. So they come to you and I and tell you that, okay, as crazy as we are, we want to give you this to tame your craziness, so that for the next 6 months you will keep quiet. So basically what we are having is not a system that works. The palliative right now is not meant for Nigerians. Because if the palliative is meant for Nigerians, truly meant for Nigerians, the palliative will have been rolled out immediately. As the subsidy is going, Nigerians are getting the palliative.
This issue of inflation, how do you, because inflation is obviously one of the many problems we have in this country. If you compare the inflation rate for now compared to like from some 5-10 years ago, you would see there is a very big difference. How do we tackle this issue of inflation, like linking it to this current happening in Nigeria now?
Well, I'm not an economist, but with my own layman knowledge of what we are having right now, inflation, they will tell you inflation is everywhere. There are countries are experiencing inflation, that they are protesting in Kenya, Angola, because of inflation. But truth is, we've not had this bad. But what we have right now is based on bad policy. First with the central bank, that actually killed us for so many years. And now we are having this kind of policy with the unstable rate of Naira international market.
Now, I want to say now, with all you have mentioned, you know, do you think the system, because this is a system, it's more like the system working right now, and every time there's a new government or there's a new administration, they walk into that same system, a system that is quite filled with flaws, they walk into that same system. So how do we start correcting that system? Is it from the educational point, you know, where students are being taught that this is the way you actually need to live your life or live in the society to make the society better? Or is it something that needs to be constructed like an infrastructure? What is it?
Well, it's not basically education, the formal education we call it. We have to use the informal. Because if you teach me in school that I have to do things right to get money, and I see you, you are a bike man, you got to be part of the system, and within 2 months, you are building mansions of people's money. I will not follow the route that says that I have to do things right. An average person will change. So what we need is, there has to be a revolution. When I mean revolution, it's not about going to the streets. It's about a total change. There has to be a revolution that will cause an evolution for us to have a new Nigeria. And this new Nigeria that we are going to have, we have a system that works for everybody. You can't bring together a group of people with over 400 languages and expect them to function with a system you create without that system being reviewed. We say we practice federalism, but in truth, we practice fascism under federalism. So now you can't continue that way and expect the system to work for majority of Nigerians. Nigerians need their country to work, which is the system. But those who are holding the system, those who are driving the system, don't want the system to be for all. Because if you are a part of the system, you ask questions. They don't want the system whereby an average Nigerian will rise up and ask them questions. And ask the question of why, what, where, and how. They only want you to come on board and do yes, sir. That's why, number one, you don't get quality education. Number two, you don't get access. So what they give you is when you have a prisoner and then you wake up and then the day you give the prisoner food, the prisoner will thank you. That's what they do. That's why they call it palliative. So that the day they give you something
at a mercy.
Yeah, so that you will continue to worship them for what they've done. And I pity an average Nigerian on the street. Because it's not about tribe, it's not about religion, it's not about where you are from. I even pity some people because those that lives in Lagos now seems to be buying fuel cheaper. I think that's the only thing that is different now. It depends on your location, how you get fuel. So some people that stay far away from Lagos are paying more for fuel. But the truth is, it doesn't matter where you are from. Once it goes up, it affects each and every one of us. It doesn't matter the God you worship. It's only a position that brings into play where you are from and the God you worship, so that it can get you divided and get what you want. The issue of religion and politics is just a tool by politicians to get what they want. They don't care about who you worship, or they don't care about where you are from. When you look at the collectiveness of people who wants to share the 70 billion naira, they are from the 36 states of the Federation representing the whole tribe. We have about 250 tribes to 300 tribes in Nigeria. We have about 360 of them in House of Rep. So those that want to even share so what they do is they divide you for their own common goal, but when it's time to take a piece of the system, they come together to take a piece, not minding the language that is being spoken. They only speak one language. Let's take it. And Nigerians need to understand that for things to move forward, they must demand accountability from whosoever is in charge of their system. Every 4 years, we are blessed with the chance of changing whosoever handles the system. And people ask me that, why is it that we pray every time, but God keeps giving us leaders that don't care? I tell them, it's there. If you're a Christian, I've said before, the life and death, choose. Most times, we don't choose the life that we ought to live.
We choose death.
And then we complain that God is not answering our prayer. God is answering our prayer, because when I look at our choices most times, there are choices that could have killed us, but still keeping us alive. giving us hope that maybe, okay, one day we are going to choose life. So it's a choice for us. We have a choice to choose. We always have the choice every 4 years. Some will tell me that my vote don't count, this don't count. I tell you, when the margin is high, it's hard for them to rig.
Wait, is there any need to bring down the current system of governance in the country? Because yes, we are supposed to be operating on a federal system, which I know we are not actually operating on. Like you said, it is fascism. It is not the federal system. If it is federal system, it will be like the United States, where you don't have power in the center, you have power in all the states. Every state in the United States is like a country, and so they operate their laws, they operate everything, but there is a general law that is binding every other person. So if you are from Texas and you go all the way to Oklahoma, you could actually, because you are a United States citizen first of all, but then you are also a citizen of Texas who is in Oklahoma. And so there is law in Texas, there is law in Oklahoma. Is there any need to bring down this particular system that seems not to be supporting local growth, local government growth or whatever? It's just the top there. When it grows up there, and the rest is nothing.
Yeah, there has to be devolution of power. But why I'm afraid of devolution of power, and I keep saying it, is that I've seen authoritarians taking over states. So when you give those authoritarians more power as state governor, I bet we are going to be in a bigger problem. So that's why I said there has to be a cleansing of the states, of the system. Number one, we must look at what we call our constitution. The basic thing the government should do as written in the constitution is welfare and security of the citizen. But government don't do that. Government the constitution clearly states devolution of power, but we don't do that. So basically, we need to look at the constitution that we have that binds us. Because I keep telling people, you can't have that kind of constitution and expect us to develop. I don't know those, kudos to them, they worked hard. I don't know from the heart they work, but I believe they worked for in their own mind, they were working for the good of Nigeria. But that constitution doesn't suit us well. We can't abolish, we can't just take the constitution out. But there has to be a change. Goodluck Jonathan had the mindset to do that, raise the confab, but he never had the will to actually implement it. I wish every day that I had implemented it before he left power. Maybe we would have been on the right track. But for now, we are currently on the wrong track, going our own way, going to where whosoever handles the system drives us. We seem not to have a destination. Because 2015 change, now we need hope. I ask, what has changed that is now giving us hope? We don't even have hope. We are not trying to renew the hope. It's only someone with hope that renews the hope. We don't even have hope at all. So basically, we have to have a change, a total change. As I call it, a revolution. Not a street revolution. A revolution where the legislators will know that they are meant to legislate. Where the executive will know their function and stay within their function. Where the judiciary will know that they are meant to interpret. They are meant to give justice to people. See, when you do something that is bad and you pay for it, people will not come into power to do things that is bad. But when you do things that is bad and you go scot-free, another person will come in, do something better than that. And so that's what we've been having. We've been having accumulation of people doing things that are not right, getting away with it because the system is not holding them accountable. So when another person comes to that kind of position, it does something far greater than what the previous person has done. So he
can actually relate to the background that somebody did this thing and nothing happened.
Someone has done this thing, it went scot-free. If you can do it from level A to point E, point A to point E, let me do it from point E to point K. And then that person comes pick it up from point K and they keep doing it that way. Because there is no justice. There is no punishment for doing wrong things once you are part of the system. So now, what we call Nigeria must be for Nigerians. Because first, You are first human being before you are a citizen.
Yes.
And even if the Nigerian state is not treating those who it's called citizen as citizen, then it can't treat them as human being. Because you look at the living conditions we have in Nigeria, and sometimes I pity us because I looked at us and I feel like, how do we even survive here? It can only be in a crazy environment. And Nigerians have adapted to that craziness a lot.
Well, I wanted to talk because we have been given signal now to actually close this particular session. I know you want to ask another question, but
it's also related to closing of the stuff too. You know, this the federal government, people that are proposing this package, palliative package, the 8,000. They are trying to convince us, the citizens, that yes, they have the interest of the masses at heart, which is why they are trying. They are trying to make it look like yes, they are really working towards easing these pains of Nigerians' chest or like that. That is why even the dissemination of fertilizers and grains to farmers and all that. Okay, do you think all this is? All these pains and suffering will end anytime soon? Like, what do you think is the way forward to all of this? Or is it that we should just take it like that and tighten our belt even more tighter than it is now, or how?
Well, the way forward is to keep going forward. That word. Because basically we can't go back. So at any point we find ourselves, we must just come to a conclusion that we have to think things through and find a better way to do things. But basically, when you look at those who tell you they have your intention at heart, basically they're having their own intention at heart. Because I said it's 800 million naira loan. Some people are getting $1 million loan. Let me use, I should not use naira. It's dollars. Sorry. Because I'm mentioning 70 billion out of that. So some people are getting 70 billion. They are less than 500. 35 billion, about 200. 8,000 naira for 12 million household. How many are you in your house? How will you share the money?
Quite crazy.
So basically, for you to tell me that those in government do have our interest at heart, they must start making policy that will make the life of the citizens better. When you enjoy good infrastructure, when you enjoy security, when you enjoy health care services, good ones that you don't need to travel outside the country, when you enjoy these things, definitely you will know that your life is getting better and that the government actually means well for you. When you pay, how much is minimum wage in some states? 30,000 naira. I can mention that state that pays 30,000 naira. I can mention state that owns pensioners, people that have worked for 35 years of their life, they are not being paid, but governors get their package when they leave offices. I can mention states that are not even employing people. You look at their civil service, they've not even employed for quite a while. People are retiring, there's gap. No teachers to teach in school, poor infrastructure and all. So when you look at it and then you tell them that the next phase of their life is 8,000 naira, can 8,000 naira even buy 12 liters or 15 liters of petrol? It can't. Anyway, so basically, for you to have our intention at heart, you must show us that you truly mean well for us by creating a system that works for the Nigerian people. So I want to thank you so much for this time, Emmanuel. You really dissected the whole. Thank you for having me. Thank you for your time. And that's the much we can take on this segment at this time. We'll go for a very short break, and I will be right back to continue the daybreak.